Hello and welcome to the Brooklyn Rail's 1003rd New Social Environment. I'm Eleanor, a Programs Associate here at the Rail, and today I have the huge pleasure and privilege of being your MC for a conversation with Linda Johnson, Robin Lester-Kenton, Damaris Olivo, and Reverend Dr. Donna Schaper. And now I'll introduce today's guest and host. As president and CEO of Brooklyn Public Library, Linda Johnson leads one of the nation's most historic and innovative library systems. Linda has overseen the library's transformation from an analog to a modern library with state-of-the-art technology available for free to all patrons, working with elected officials, private foundations, and library stakeholders to ensure that underserved and underrepresented communities have access to the knowledge and technology on every platform. Robin Lester-Kenton joined Brooklyn Public Library in 2013 and currently serves as Executive Vice President for External Affairs. Robin leads the library's creative communication strategy, including email and marketing campaigns and the website and branding across the borough. Under her leadership, BPL launched its National Books Unbanned campaign, providing teens across the U.S. access to the library's online catalog. Damaris Olivo is the communications director for the Brooklyn Public Library and oversees the library's overall media strategy. Recent campaigns include Books Unbanned, the BPL's 125th anniversary celebrations, and most recently, the Book of HOV, a tribute exhibition celebrating the career of Jay-Z for the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And our host today is Reverend Dr. Donna Schaper. Reverend Dr. Donna Schaper served as Senior Minister for Judson Memorial Church from 2006 to 2021. As an elder, she is passionately concerned about leaving the next generation well prepared for all they have to face. She's written over 35 books, most recently I Heart Francis, Letters to the Pope from an Unlikely Admirer, among many others. She is an editor at large here at the Brooklyn Rail. Thank you all so much for being here today, and I'm so excited to turn it over to you, Donna.
Hey, welcome everybody. What a great day to be together, to be talking about something as vital and interesting as libraries. I want to just say that libraries saved my life in Kingston, New York, when as a girl, I would take my bicycle from 3rd Avenue to Midtown, and I read every book they had in the library. I mean, there weren't that many in the children's section, but what a gift it was to me. And so I want to start out asking our wonderful guest today, I'm going to use Mary Oliver. Why are you trying to spend your wild, precious life working in libraries? What makes you do it? Why? What's the vocational aspect? Who wants to start? Anybody can go first.
Sure. I'll start. I got interested in libraries as the internet bubble was expanding. I don't have a great library story in my youth like you do, but I was always a great reader, studied English in college. And as I was trying to think about a way to give back and watching what was happening with the electronic transmission of information, I thought I should go check out what was happening at the library, because if it was changing the way people were communicating, I was wondering how it was changing the way people were reading. But in fact, nothing had changed at the libraries yet. You know, people were still coming in, borrowing a hard copy book, usually in English, taking it to a carrel. Remember what a carrel was in a library, or taking the book home. So that was sort of my way in the front door. And so instead of being sort of motivated by helping the library join the 21st century, it really became an education for me, learning just how incredible the most democratic institutions in our society really are, and the transformative nature that they can have on people's lives and education. And so I got completely hooked on the notion that anybody could come to the library regardless of anything about them, right? Their economic status, their level of education, their ethnic backgrounds, whatever it was, they were welcome, and there was a place for them to start their journey, regardless of the level of education they'd already experienced or their level of sophistication. You could start as an adult and learn how to read if you needed to do that, or you could come and hear a Pulitzer Prize-winning author, talk about their latest work. And Brooklyn, especially with so many writers in our midst, you have people who are working on their next great, piece of fiction. At the same time, you have adult literacy happening down the hall. And so for me, that's why spending my time devoted to libraries in general, but Brooklyn in particular, has been so important and so fulfilling.
Well, I love that you use the word hooked. When it comes to vocation,
good word.
That's a good word. That's a good word. That's a good word. Robin, how about you?
Hi, everyone. I grew up in suburban Buffalo as an only child, and I have these extremely amazing fond memories of going to the library with my mom as a child. And this was in the days, of course, before you could put a hold on material and have it sent to you, which of course now we can do. But every summer, my mom and I would go downtown. It was our big trip to the big central library and borrow all the books we didn't have at our local branch. And I was just a voracious reader, and it was such a foundational part of my childhood. I think like many people, I lost my connection to the library when I was in high school. I had my high school library doing a lot of assignment reading. And in college, I decided actually I wanted to work in the entertainment industry. So I was going to either be a sitcom writer or work at a record label, and ended up at a record label. Never thinking I would engage in public service. That was not on my radar. Many years later into my career, I ended up working for the New York City Department of Transportation, which is the last place I ever thought I would end up working at Warner Brothers Records early in my career.
Yeah.
It really changed my whole life. There had always been something missing for me in my career, and I realized it was that I really wanted to serve my city and work for the people of New York. That was a great experience, but I will say coming to the library has been even better because everyone loves libraries. There's a lot of people that don't like potholes and other things that we're dealing with at the DOT.
That's good.
And being here, sort of echoing Linda's sentiment about this being such a democratic place, I think in our current society that we're living in, it's so important. There are no free places to go and just be and learn. The variety of services we offer is truly incredible, from the story times I knew growing up to video editing and learning to read and all the amazing things we lend. And so it's just really an honor to have been able to sort of take my creative background and bring it to this institution and just have so much fun. There's so much joy in the library, and being able to lend my skills to serve the people of Brooklyn in such a joyful space is really amazing.
Yeah, lovely. Damaris, how about you?
Hi, everyone. So like Robin and like Donna, I came to libraries when I was very young. So I moved to the United States when I was around 8 years old. I didn't speak any English. And my first experience with a library was my school library. And I was just shocked that they would let you just take books home for free. And the librarian, I remember, was just like one of the first kind faces. And at first she started sending me home with like the Bernstein Bears. And then I moved to chapter books and things like Goosebumps. And I would just go through them so quickly. So I got to know her really well. And just coming from like an immigrant single parent household, the library just served so many functions for us. Like it was like childcare for my mom, and it was somewhere for my siblings and I to go after school. And so that was my introduction to the library. Here at BPL, I feel like I really realized that it's really one of the only community resources that serves people at every stage of life. So, I'll walk in through the children's wing every day, and it's like an instant hit of serotonin, right? Because it's like little ones everywhere, and they're caregivers. And then, I'll walk through, to the next section of the library, and it'll be, every chair is taken. In our conference rooms, every room is reserved. And I'm always surprised, our business and career center is always packed. Spaces for dedicated study are always packed. And it's really a community resource that is really heavily utilized. And I think it's something that I'm still surprised by every day when I come in. But yeah, it's just a really wonderful place, and I'm so excited to work here.
Wow. Well, listen, forgive my exegesis of your very interesting texts, but the theme of universality for all of us, ages, classes, kinds, natives, non, for all of us. It's a really lovely statement. So I want to have a little ritual right now. And those of you who weren't prepared, if you could find your wallet and get out your library cards, I want to put them in the screen. This is my New York City library card. You see it's all bent up and all messed up because it was on my keychain forever. Now you don't have to participate in any ritual. It's all consensual. But if you have one, you could show it. This is my West Haven Public Library card now where I live, which gets me to New Haven too. So that's kind of fun. And these cards are very precious. They are very, very precious, just as the stories we just heard. And so as we talk about BPL today and obviously other libraries we've known, let's say that this card is really different than most of the cards in our wallets or our purses or wherever we keep them. It's very different. It's free. I mean, we pay taxes, but it's free, it's universal, and it's fun. It's fun. So let's deal with the card and each other as precious. I'm repeating myself. So give us a sense of the range. What don't we know about the wide range of the work at the library is? How would you describe it? Linda, you ready?
Yeah, sure. First of all, let me say about the cards.
Yeah.
It's usually the first kind of object like this that a child gets. And when we hear library stories, we often hear about this notion of remembering the memory of getting their first card. And, as you say, how valuable this card is, even though it doesn't, the transfer of money is not related to this card, even though it looks like a credit card. But it is that first sort of sense of independence that kids feel because it allows them to read with limits, whatever they like. So it's important. Yeah. The range of services. So, libraries, the public library movement is about 125, maybe more years old in this country. And the mission has never changed. It's about free access to the world's knowledge and information. But to be literate in today's society is a lot more complicated than it was 125 years ago. And so delivering on our mission has become a lot more complicated. And everything that we do is tied to literacy. But to be literate today means far more than being able to read and write. So if you think about the complexities of living in a digital world, as many people go to YouTube as go to Google to do a search, which means that in order to be literate, you not only need to be able to read and write, you need to be able to be visually literate, digitally literate. And so our programs are incredibly expansive. And I will give you this number. It's going to floor people, but last year we offered over 56,000 programs. Now, a program can be story time for a few kids on a rug in a branch with their caregivers, and it can be an author talk like we had last week with Sandra Cisneros and Edwidge Danticott that attracted almost 600 people, and they each count as a program. But the point is that we have people coming to the library day in and day out. I love that. That's one of our newer libraries, the Brooklyn Heights Library that just opened. And so we have the unenviable job of being all things to all people. If you've gone to business school, that's exactly where you don't want to be. But it's kind of a great thing, the fact that people of all generations, of all backgrounds, are coming into our buildings and rubbing shoulders with each other, and are able to engage in some form of program or just sitting in the corner and reading a good book, but regardless of their level of education or experience.
Mhm. That's cool. Anybody else want to talk range?
I'd love to chat just quickly about one of my favorite things at BPL, which is our library of things that we loan. That, I mean, first, you know, to sort of reiterate, there are still many Brooklynites that don't realize you can, if the book you want isn't in your local library, you can place a hold on it, and for free, it will magically appear at your home branch and you can pick it up. And again, it's all for free. But we've really expanded the types of things that we loan. So you can borrow, for example, a sewing machine for free, and we have classes to learn to sew. You can borrow vinyl records. You can borrow actually musical instruments. Here at Central Library, there's some photos of those instruments later in the slideshow. You can borrow telescopes. There's just like hundreds of different things. It's so much beyond physical books and even digital books that you can borrow and have your hands on and learn how to use and sort of explore the various elements of literacy. So that's what I like to talk about. We're also going to be launching a tool library pretty soon. So if you have a home improvement project, you can come to us.
And instruments, I think the loaning of instruments is just so important because they're really expensive, as any parent will tell you. So that's lovely. So listen, why don't we do the slideshow? Because I think that will also show some, get to this question of range. Ready to do it?
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, so this is, I think, in the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd, everybody was marching and protesting. We had all been shut up in our homes for months, and people were sort of busting out and they were marching together, but they were convening at various different points around the city. And in Brooklyn, they were convening on the plaza in front of the Central Library, which is this photograph of people right there where Flatbush and Eastern Parkway come together, where Prospect Park is and the library. It was quite a moment.
Yeah, I'll add to that, you know, both because of its standing as a trusted community space, but also just because of where the Central Library is sited. I think it really has become kind of a gathering space. And so, you know, for painful moments like the George Floyd protest, but also for really joyful moments, like we have Stomp, Clap, and Sing, which is a program where, you know, on Tuesdays, there are hundreds of toddlers on the plaza singing and dancing and, you know, listening to stories. We have parties on the plaza in the summer. We have all kinds of events. And I think it does say something really interesting about, you know, our built environment in New York City and what makes for a welcoming space. And I really feel that in large part due to Linda's leadership, that BPL really has created a welcoming space for all Brooklynites, and where everyone feels welcome, everyone from the youngest New Yorkers to the oldest New Yorkers to new immigrants to everyone in between.
This is an interior shot of the atrium as you walk into the Central Library. And it's during the exhibition called the Book of HOV, which is about the career and life of Jay-Z. This is a pretty tame picture because we don't look so crowded, but between the middle of July and the middle of December, we had over 600,000 people come to see the exhibition. We had an incredible increase in all of our numbers, from library card registration to, you know, visits. Was really something. We had as many as 11,000 people a day on the weekends. So we learned a lot, and we saw people from all walks of life travel great distances well beyond Brooklyn to come and see this exhibition. I don't know, Damaris, did you want, here's the exterior of the building. The building was clad with a vinyl, and these are Jay-Z's lyrics. And the cube in the middle is a video cube.
What designer came up with the idea to do that? That is so cool.
Yeah, we had an incredible team of people working on this exhibition, all of whom had worked with Jay-Z and some other aspect of his life. So Rock Nation, which is the company that Jay-Z owns is an agency. They represent athletes and entertainers. And so they produced the Super Bowl halftime show. And the team that worked on that show over many years, I think they've done it now 7 years in a row, they helped produce this.
Yeah, and you know, we're always trying to find new ways to bring people into the library. And this was, I mean, this exhibition was just an incredible way to do that. So we saw more than 600,000 people visited Central Library during the exhibition period. We gave out, I believe, almost 40,000 cards to new patrons. So those are only cards that went to new people who visited the library.
Yeah.
And the last time I checked, I have to check those stats again, but last time we checked, nearly 20% of those folks had already used their card.
Yeah. So we did a great thing with the library cards. We had one for each of Jay-Z's albums. So we had 13 cards and they became collector's items, but you couldn't get all 13 at one library. And so people were traveling around the borough to different branches so that they could complete all 13. So it got people not only into the central library, but also into the neighborhoods.
Mm.
Yeah, overall, during the exhibition, system-wide, we saw a 66% increase in new card signups, and specifically at Central Library, 358% increase in card signups. And as Damaris mentioned, we saw at least 20% of those new card holders come back to the library and use their card for something. And we did a very special sort of welcome email series to those folks to thank them for coming, remind them to come back, really highlight, as I'd mentioned before, things like the musical instruments. We have a couple of actual recording studios that patrons can borrow for free. So really communicating very like culturally cool offerings that a lot of folks don't know to encourage them to come back.
Right. And one thing just before you move on that I should mention is that Jay-Z is a big reader. And so as part of this project, Rock Nation donated the books that Jay was influenced by while he was creating these 13 albums. They all have a special book plate in them. You can borrow them. He contributed all of the vinyl records that he was sampling and listening to while he was creating these albums. And these are all things that are still in the library, even though the exhibition has come down.
That's remarkable. What a win-win.
Yeah.
Plus a win. You know?
Plus a win. Yeah, exactly.
And it goes to the heart of sort of paying attention to things that other people think are not library-esque.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing about this exhibition and about Jay-Z in particular, and then I'll stop talking about him, but obviously I'm a huge fan now, but he started as a kid of a single parent household in the Marcy houses, less than 2 miles away from Central Library, you know, didn't have great prospects, but understood the importance of being disciplined and working hard. And despite a bit of a shaky start, ended up on the world stage. And it's very inspiring to the young kids who are coming into the library today, that with that hard work and that kind of intentionality, you can create the life that you want to live.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So this is one of our bookmobiles. We have a few of these vehicles. They've been newly redesigned. We did this wrap a few years ago with a Brooklyn artist. It looks really great. There's now this window. We have a little setup, and I think in the next slide you can see a little bit more of that. These vehicles really serve as our service on the go. So we do occasionally have branches that are closed for a short-term or a long-term renovation. So these books will come to that neighborhood on a schedule, bring people's materials on holds, issue library cards, and they also do a lot of community outreach. So you can request that one comes to your community fair. They visit homeless shelters, especially serving families without stable housing. They've been doing visits to hotels where our newly arrived migrants have been staying, helping people sign up for library cards, connecting them to other city services. So it's a really great way for us to keep moving around. We've also done some fun things with these vehicles. Last year, BPL celebrated its 125th anniversary. So we turned these into cake mobiles and drove them around, and anyone who showed their library card or signed up got a free BPL birthday cupcake.
That was Robin's idea.
It's kind of, what is it, bread and roses? Or let them eat cake, let them read cake.
Yes, and have a book. I will speak to this. This is a new program that just launched, and I invite all of you today to come take part in it, called Browse the Branches. It is a challenge, and we are asking folks to visit all 62 of our locations. You have all year through the end of 2024. The booklet on the left is a little passport. There's little history and facts about each branch. Each branch designed their own sticker. You get a sticker in the passport. The cards on the right are sort of limited edition. We call them ambassador cards. So the first 100 people that finish will get one of these special cards. And as we've seen from, you know, the Jay-Z cards to our Wild Things cards, people love special library cards. So this only launched a few weeks ago, and we've already had 6 people finish the challenge, including visits to the bookmobile. So it's a way we're encouraging people to still continue to return to our branches after the pandemic and just come in and get to know our staff, have an interaction, ask for the stickers, see what we have to offer, and explore Brooklyn too, since there's a branch, I believe, within a mile of every Brooklynite. So you can really also explore the borough while you're doing this.
That's so cool.
I just want to add on Browse the Branches. We were really surprised that people finished that quickly. I mean, it's 62 locations and they're all over Brooklyn. And it just really has shown the range of and the spirit of Brooklynites. We've seen people, one person finished by, did it by bike in 3 days. Someone else borrowed their friend's car so they can go to all the branches. Another woman did it with her son, and they, as kind of like a mother-son activity. Someone else did it all by public transportation, all by bus, and actually said that she would show the booklet to the bus drivers and they would let her on, and that's how she was able to complete it. So it just really showed the range and like the enthusiasm, and it's just such a fun initiative, and we really hope that people will continue to participate. It's happening all year, so we hope that we continue to see, all that Brooklyn has to offer through this program.
That is so cool. I'm going to have a question about swag when this is all done, but
I think this photo, I'm pretty sure, was taken at our Greenpoint Library.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, this is one of our more newly renovated branches. It was completely rebuilt, and the top floor also contains an environmental education center. So we worked with local community and got some environmental grants. There's amazing programs here. There's a whole environmental center coordinator. I'm not sure if this is one of the telescopes that we loan, but there are many events like this on the rooftop. There's gardening, there's ecology. And just really connecting Brooklynites to their natural environment and advocating for a greener place to live.
I'll talk about this for a second. We have a lot of education programs, obviously. It's at the core of what we do. And one of the things that we do is have classes for people to get their high school equivalency exams. They take them and then they graduate, and we have a formal graduation celebration so that everybody who achieved this significant milestone, because these are mostly adults who have full lives, it's not easy to shoehorn a degree program into your life necessarily, and so we make a big deal about something that deserves a lot of praise and celebration.
Mm-hmm.
We are a site for the ID NYC card. That's the municipal card that gives people, especially people who are not documented, but all people, a piece of a certificate essentially that is very helpful if you don't have a driver's license in particular, gets you into buildings, but it also comes with all kinds of benefits, including passes to museums. And but it's a critical card for New Yorkers. And it says right on this flyer that immigration status does not matter. We know that one of the first stops that immigrants coming to this country make is the library to get their card. There's usually a line by the door. They know which door to line up by so that when the library opens in the morning, they can get the card. But without some form of ID, you can't even get your child out of school. So it's a really vital piece of documentation. This is another IDNYC photo. I think this is a teen tech center. We've made a big push. Somebody in their opening remark, maybe Robin, talked about the fact that teenagers in the cycle of life tend to sort of drift away from libraries, and we're doing our best to change that pattern. Typically, kids are brought with their parents when they're young. That whole notion of being able to take as much away as you want is very freeing. Where can you go when without somebody telling you that there's a limit on what you can do? But as teenagers begin to age and are attracted by a lot of other stuff that's maybe not quite as wholesome as being in the library, they tend to sort of separate from the library, and they don't come back again until they have their own children. So we're breaking that cycle by focusing on the things that teenagers find attractive and interesting, and we sneak in an education piece as well. So we have these teen tech centers, which is, has music and gaming and all the things that go with technology. But it's a way to really keep students engaged with their libraries and learning all the time. So it's been great. I think we have 5 centers that are open now, but it's a great model. And older adults like it too.
This is one of our instruments that you can borrow at Central Library, and I think this is one of our strategy employees trying it out. You can just see the range of instruments we have, from electric drum kit to classical violin.
She looks like a ringer, though.
I know.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, this is also from our Library of Things. These are all instruments that you can check out of the library with your library card.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. So this is an event in our main lobby at the Central Library. It's an older picture, I can tell by the floor. That flooring has all been replaced. It's probably at night in the library. We do an annual event. It's coming up this year in March 16th. This year, the theme is Out of Darkness. It's called Night in the Library, the philosophy of darkness, out of darkness. Last year was the philosophy of hip hop. Every year has a different theme, depending on sort of what's happening in our society and in our city. But it attracts as many as 8,000 people over the course of the event, which starts at 7 in the morning and goes sometimes as long as 7 in the evening and goes as long as 7 in the morning, and people are coming and going. There's 60 or more sessions over the course of the evening that are led by famous philosophers, thinkers, musicians, their performances, there's food. It's a really fabulous night, and everybody comes out. Some people come at 2 in the morning. Some people are lined up at 7 in the evening. But it's become a program that we're known for. That is a picture from our robotics league. Another way to teach kids technology is through robotics. Actually, we just had the culminating tournament, I think a week or 2 ago, where teams from different branches are competing against each other to win the league prize at the Central Library. It's a terrific program.
This is a classic story time shot here. You can see the range of families, kids with their caregivers, just sort of the classic library scene. You can see the little one in the back. We may we made foldable bookmobiles that also serve as a coin bag. So you can take a little bookmobile to go with you.
Interesting.
Another example of story time, we offer story time, I think, in up to 12 languages. So
Wow.
our opportunities really for everyone to come. We had a huge hit with this during the pandemic, where unfortunately we couldn't meet in person, but we found that we had attendees from our story times all over the world. Sometimes thousands of people would sign in for our multilingual story times.
Wow.
And here's
I
Linda.
get to read to the kids sometimes. It's the most fun thing I do. Unfortunately, I don't get to do it often enough. This is our newest library, just opened this year. It's in Sunset Park. It's a great model that's gotten a lot of attention because we had a library in Sunset Park on the same site. It was in deplorable condition, had a lot of deferred maintenance, and it was busting at the seams. It was so crowded all the time. The staff was terrific, and despite like deplorable conditions, they were doing great work. And so we wanted to build a larger library there, and we ended up doing a partnership with a nonprofit developer. We contributed the land. They took the library down and built a mixed-use project that has 100% affordable housing above the library. And the benefit to the library is that we have a library now that's twice as big as the one that was sitting there before. It was from the moment the doors opened, people were lined up and ready to take advantage of all of the services that this library has to offer. And the same staff has come back. They do tremendous work. Somebody mentioned a moment ago about the number of languages that we offer story time. When I was talking about how much more complicated life has gotten over the last 125 years, in Brooklyn especially, one of the issues is language. Over half the households in Brooklyn speak a language other than English at home. Sunset Park is a great example of a really diverse community where people are speaking Chinese and many dialects of Chinese and Spanish and English. And so not only are people coming to the library to take a book out and read it in English on whatever platform they like, but they can read it also in whatever language they're most comfortable. And so I think we have over 30 different languages that we're providing material. I was talking about this earlier. This is one of the teen tech centers, but it's also, we have a program called T4, Today's Teens, Tomorrow's Techies. They're internships that teach teenagers about technology. That happens over the summer. And then during the course of the school year, each of the teenagers in the program have internships in libraries, and they are after school going and helping people in the libraries with their own tech issues. So it's great on all sides. It benefits everybody, this program.
We also have programs in our teen tech centers where we invite teens to come in after the library closes after hours. And they kind of create their own programming. So they do everything from art to playing video games to just, chatting and having pizza to writing to poetry. And so we've seen a huge interest in that program, and hundreds of teens have participated. So it's really exciting.
So these kids, I suspect, are in our intellectual teen council, which is connected to our Books Unbanned program. If you look at the t-shirts that these guys are wearing, it says Books Unbanned, and there's a QR code. The codes actually work right from the t-shirts, but what the code does is enables you to borrow books from our digital collection. And these are promotional material that gets the word out about the Books Unbanned project. Let's see what the next slide is before I go on too much further.
That's the last slide.
That's the last one. Okay, so here's the thing about Books Unbanned. We started it in April of 2022. We thought it would be a one-year program. We started it because we were alarmed at the censorship that was going on around the country it took us a few months to figure out what the right program was. We thought we would partner perhaps with somebody, another library system, perhaps in Texas, where the book bans were really horrible. And Texas was important because all of the textbooks are published in Texas. It turned out people were afraid because they were worried about jeopardizing their funding or their accreditation in the case of school libraries. And so nobody really wanted to stick their neck out. So we went at it alone and we issued a nationwide press release. Damaris, was this your first day we did this?
Maybe my first month.
First month. Anyway, we issued this nationwide. Yeah, Damaris's first day, Obama retweeted something about the program. We told her she had her first day, she should quit and go home because she was never going to get better than that. But anyway, this program said if you are a teenager, if you're between the ages of 13 and 21, and you can't find the books on the shelves of your local library or your school library that you're interested in reading, send us an email and tell us that you would like access to our digital collection. And I point out, not just to books that were being banned at the time, but to our entire digital collection, because what we're really fighting for here is the right to, or freedom to read. It's not that we think everybody should be reading banned books necessarily, although some of the books that are being banned would, you know, really make your head spin because they're books that we all grew up reading. Without question. So anyway, we had an unbelievable response to the email, and we got some extraordinarily poignant messages back from teenagers in their communities where they really felt that they were being isolated. They were isolated. They were feeling isolated, and they were feeling like the books and the stories that they wanted to read were being kept from them because of you know, like really conservative influences. Some people talked about being raised in very sort of Christian towns where the pedagogy was very much influenced by religion. But at the end of the day, you know, what's happened is this thing went viral. And so we've continued to operate the program. And now we have partners in Seattle, Los Angeles County, San Diego. There are others who are joining us in making their digital collections available, perhaps not as broadly as we are, but joining the fight. And we thought actually that it would be a one-year program. I naively thought this was tied into the last election cycle and that it would kind of wane, but the book bans have only proliferated. The people who are doing it have become more sophisticated. So instead of banning particular books, they're banning categories of books. They're trying to influence school pedagogy. It's very, very scary. If you live in Brooklyn, you feel like it's not your problem. But trust me, it's not so far away. There are places in upstate New York that are experiencing these kinds of bans. And I believe that if you were to poll the citizenry of this country, most people would say they were against censorship. But if we don't pay close attention to it, it will continue to plague us. And so our job, we realize, is not only to get material into the hands of kids who can't find it, but really to make sure that people are focused on what's happening so that they can do their part as well. You know, even if it's in some small way by joining a PTA or whatever that thing might be that you can do, even if you don't run a big institution that can make a sweeping gesture like we did.
I want to make a quick note on this briefly about involving our local teens. So our teen
thank you. Yeah.
Actually came up with the name Books Unbanned. We had them brainstorm and they came back to us with maybe a list of 10. So, you know, we had the final choice of those just to make sure it worked. But a big part of this goal is to also empower teens. We have training for our teens in Brooklyn and around the country on, you know, how do school board meetings work? So you can show up and, you know, do public speaking and speak your mind. We want our Brooklyn teens to become advocates and mentors for teens across the country for support and resources. So we're really hoping to provide leadership opportunities for teens through the program also.
Yeah, Robin makes a terrific point because this is not only helping teenagers across the country, and you can argue that that's not really our problem, but it's also doing a lot for teenagers in Brooklyn. And I will add that we're doing it with private money, not with funds that we get from the city of New York, because we are serving teenagers who are outside of the city. So we're very careful about that as well.
That's good. That's good to know. if the slideshow is done, was that the last one? Yeah, okay. Let's talk about money a minute. I'm assuming you have all the money you need.
Such a jokester. We never have enough money. And I think even when we have, absolutely the best budget in our history, we still won't have enough. We get about 85% of our funding from the city of New York. The rest we raise privately. And I say that the city of New York allows us to open the doors and to keep the lights on, the buildings warm in the winter and cool in the summer, but to be a really great library. That's what the private funding does for us. And so we're out there raising money like every other nonprofit in the city of New
York. Yeah. That makes sense, because there is a question of so many people are biased in their charitable giving or their stewardship giving or their civic giving, pick your name, are biased for something very local. And, I can touch it. So I really appreciated what you said about book banning. I mean, the people who go to the Brooklyn Library are going to work in another place eventually. And what they learn as children will take them very far.
Yeah.
So
the thing is that, every municipality has a library. That's a great thing. The people who support the library are either people who had a transformative experience in their youth and are forever grateful for that opportunity, or for people who are very local, as you say, and want to make sure that the cultural institutions in their own neighborhoods are vibrant and doing good work.
Yeah, my favorite word is glocal. The globe.
Yeah, it's a good one.
The globe and local.
Yeah.
But my favorite bumper sticker is live your life as though you were a book that needed to be banned. So you can do something that bothers people enough to care about you.
Right? I think being banned these days is a badge of honor. I was having lunch with a few authors last week, and somebody was like whining that their book hadn't been banned. And I thought, that's rich.
That's rich. But I mean, imagine giving your life and your soul and your precious energy to a library and people going around banning books. It's like, that's beyond cancel. That's cancel plus. So when we talk about money, of course, you could never have the money, even in an excellent city like New York, to be an excellent public institution, right? I think of Gaudi, the sculptor that has the unfinished cathedral in Barcelona.
They're still working on it.
I know. His best donor got really mad at him and said, "You want all that money for a fancy tile that I have to bring in, from 3 countries away?" And he said, "Well, of course. What's your problem? You want me to have ordinary tile? No." So I really appreciate the answer that there could never be enough. And I'm wondering what's the relationship between public funding and private funding in your system? I mean,
well, as I said, 85% of the funding is public.
Okay, good.
And that's a good thing. I think it's sometimes hard to raise money because people think that their tax dollars are supporting the library and that's enough. But it's not.
Right.
We strive for excellence. We feel like that fancy Gaudi tile, like we want everything to be the very best quality because everybody deserves that. Not only people who are going to, bookstores to buy their books, but also people who rely on the library for their material. And so we have a very strong emphasis on providing the very best quality that we can.
I want to give Linda a quick shout out on that aspect because she, as a leader, really pushes all of us on, again, doing the best we can, but also that design is important. She's been a huge support to my designers on my team. And just because something is free, it should also look amazing and wonderful, recognizable brand. And I think that's really important that the library, can and should be beautiful and comfortable and welcoming and aspirational.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I think that the real point is that our spaces need to be inspiring. It's not enough to just, be a tight box that keeps you from the elements, the outdoors. They need to really inspire you to do your best work, and they need to draw you back. They need to be places where you want to keep coming.
Mhm. And the increase in your numbers shows that it's working, and the swag is so good. I mean,
Well, that Robin's team gets credit for that.
Well, I don't really, I mean, it's not about credit, it's just about fun. I mean, and making learning fun,
Right.
you know, taking I mean, one of my best friends is a librarian, and she's gorgeous. And when I first met her, she was blonde, well-dressed, in a classical way, high heels. And I said, what do you do with yourself all day long? She said, oh, I'm the head of the library in Riverhead. And I said, no, you're not. You're not supposed to look like that and be a librarian. And I thought, my God, what a prejudice.
There's a little bit of a stereotype.
Exactly.
But it's changed. When I started this work, people always said, you don't look like a librarian. Maybe I've changed. Maybe now I do. But but I don't hear that so much anymore.
Yeah, but you know, a librarian is what she usually has a stick in her hand and tells you to be quiet.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore either.
Oh, I know. So what about homeless people in the library? Are they, do they feel comfortable?
We try. I mean, everybody is welcome. That's a big sort of theme of what we do. But you have to behave in a way that is consistent with the work that we do and the work that others want to do.
Right.
And so that's the fine line that we walk.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah,
because, please.
No, I was going to say, yeah, this idea of democratizing, inspiring, beautiful spaces. You know, the library is one of the few places I think left in the country where you can go, you can sit and work at your computer and read a book, and it's free. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to pay for anything. And I think, it's one of the last places where you can do that. And especially now with inflation and the economy, I think we're becoming more important than ever to New Yorkers and, around the country, libraries around the country. So yeah, it's just something that I think we take really seriously. And like Linda said, everyone is welcome. And I think for the most part, right, it's a very, the environment is just really feels collaborative. And I think people respect the library and love the library.
I'm sorry, you guys, I have to jump off, but thanks for your time and keep asking my great colleagues your questions.
Thank you so much for coming and giving us your time.
No, it's been great. Thank you.
Good. We're going to take questions pretty soon. I don't even know what time it is, so somebody tell me. I'll open my.
We've got a few more minutes, Donna, if you want to ask anything before we open it up.
We had a couple more questions that may be related to this. And I think the people without housing are not the only people who present a security threat. And they also enjoy quiet and safety themselves. And I'm wondering how the people who work in libraries think about that. What's that like for them? The conflict, we talked about it in the talk, is the conflict between community and democracy and security that's growing so large in our society.
I think, generally, if folks are in our branch and they want a quiet space, they need a place to just sit or even rest their head. That is allowed behavior. We do have a very robust public safety team. They are well trained in de-escalation. We also have some social workers on staff. So if there is an issue, I think, no one rushes to farm it out to the police. I think everyone is working to de-escalate, get that patron, connect them with the services they need if there's a disruption. But certainly there is, as Linda mentioned, there are rules in the library. So if folks cannot behave in a way that is safe for the library community, then, they might be asked to leave. I don't know that we've ever, we don't ban people for life. That's not something that we can do or should do. It's a free space. So, our hope is that if there is someone who visits us who has needs, that we can connect them to what they need and get them to a better place.
Yeah, and like Donna said, I think our goal is to make sure everyone feels safe. So everyone from the person who's just coming in to rest their head to, the folks who are there to, for a study group, we want to make sure that everyone feels just as welcome and just as safe.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. So one more question, and maybe this is too vague. I'll try to, obviously the Brooklyn Rail, we are a cultural institution as well in Brooklyn, and you are a cultural institution in Brooklyn. And how would you describe your niche? Because you're trying to do a lot for everybody, right? And I might say that of us too. And where do you actually, is there a more succinct definition? And I would challenge us to do that as well as we talk.
Good question. I think I would love to hear Linda's answer on this, so we can get back to you with her answer. But I mean, I think our niche is free and high quality together. We have, as Linda mentioned, we host best-selling authors. We have this Night of Philosophy, which is, there's very advanced academic topics that, people might not, does that go with a story time or a clap along? It's all of those things. So I think it's access to, sing along in Spanish, to coming to see, a globally recognized philosopher or a best-selling author, or classical music. I think some of our programs rival some of our top cultural institutions in the city that folks pay a lot of money to become members to or get tickets for. So I think our goal is really to provide our patrons the biggest range of cultural experiences and access that we can for free. Introduce them to everything.
That's a great answer. Please.
I'll add to that we're in Brooklyn, right? And so we work with so many creative people. And I think one of the things that I think is always on our mind is we're kind of re-envisioning the idea of a library all the time. So a library is so much more than just books. I mean, we have between books on band, and now we have exhibition, we had the Book of HOV exhibition space where, as Robin and Linda were talking about before, we have all of these new and creative and beautiful, inspiring libraries. We're engaging teens in all of these different ways. And so I think we're really trying to reimagine the idea of what a library could be. And again, that's so much more than just books. It's like just a community hub, and it's such a huge range of services, but also programming that we offer. So we're excited to see what's next for us.
Nice. I think that free and high class is a really wonderful anomaly. And it goes back to what you were saying at the beginning about why would you want to give your one precious life to anything that was doing anything less than that? So thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And I can tell we have a good bunch of questions. So let's, why don't we take them? Ellen, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you, Donna. And thank you so much, Damaris and Robin and Linda. It's honestly just mind-boggling and so inspiring to hear about everything that the Brooklyn Public Library does. So thank you so much for sharing with us. We do have some questions from the audience, and first question will be from Ty. Ty, I will give you a chance to unmute.
Hello. First of all, I just want to thank you all for the conversation today. I've been having just truly a ton of fun listening. My question is specific and mostly because I had to narrow it down because I had so many. But one is that, so like everyone, I was really amazed by the Book of HOV exhibition and really got a lot of joy out of walking past the vinyl prints on the outside of the library all the time. And my brothers and I are all really we were very much like raised listening to Jay-Z. And so looking at all of the lines that were printed on the outside of the building, we had two reactions, which were one, immediately like singing those songs as we're walking, and then two, kind of looking at it and being like, how do you possibly choose? What is that process like? So I was wondering, with that exhibition in general, and with that specific part of it, what was the process of that decision making like for choosing those lines? Were there other curators involved? Was there community input? Because I think like different members of different communities will inevitably want to see different lines on those walls.
Yeah, ultimately, those were really pulled forward and presented by the Rock Nation team, by those who worked very closely with him. For those who didn't know the background, the exhibition was a surprise to him. He knew that something was happening, but didn't see it didn't see what it was until he showed up for the launch. So there was a little bit of negotiation with the library around some of the lyrics. Like, we didn't want, curse words on the facade. We have to make sure we're an inclusive space to everyone. So there was a little bit of back and forth there, but mostly it was curated by his team that put on the exhibition.
Yeah, I do have a funny anecdote about that, because when the lyrics first went up, no one really knew what the exhibition was. It was a surprise to him, so we had to make sure that he saw it before we let the public know what was going on. So all of the work would happen in the library overnight, and then we would cover everything for the public when they got there in the morning, and then we'd work again overnight. And so when the lyrics went up, he actually, it started to appear in the press, and he actually called his CEO of Rock Nation and said, like, hey, so they're doing something in Brooklyn. My lyrics are on the facade of the public library. It looks kind of good, but like, did we approve this? What's going on? And she was like, oh no, this is just something they're doing for the anniversary of hip hop. Next week, it'll be somebody else. Like, this week it's you. Next week, it'll be a different, hip hop artist. And then, a day later, we revealed that it was actually this exhibition that was, in honor of his career. Yeah, it was really well received, especially the lyrics on the facade. No one was sure what it was going to look like. This is a landmark building. I think, folks were nervous about that, but it was great. I mean, the community loved it. And it was nice to have the building look different for a little while. So yeah, I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. It's great.
Thanks, Ty. That was such a great question. Thanks, Damaris and Robin, for those answers. That's such a great story. Our next question today will be from GE. GE, you can go ahead and unmute.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Donna, as always, and librarians of the world, thank you. A quick question is, can anyone on the panel speak to or about the library of the future, especially with regards to AI in public libraries?
I will say we have just formed an internal AI committee to start exploring that. There's a lot of unknowns across a lot of industries. So I think we want to find a balance of sort of two things right now. One is figuring out for ourselves as staff, how can we use AI for our jobs in the best way? Are there ways to use it in a positive way, to make our jobs easier where it's appropriate? And then also a big thing is going to be teaching patrons how to use it, finding trusted resources, working with some outside partners. I believe we just had a chat with Google about this. Linda did just the other day. So lots of unknowns. I know even my creative team is wondering about it, because we have copywriters and designers and that stuff. Like, should we be even looking into it? I think it's both scary and exciting, but I think libraries will play a role in literacy there. What is AI literacy, and how can you use it responsibly and effectively and safely?
Thank you, GE.
AI things to add?
Yeah, go ahead, Damaris. Sorry.
No, I think Robin covered it. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, GE. We have another question from the audience about international work. If the Brooklyn Public Library's programs or campaigns reach internationally? I know you mentioned the Zoom story times, but if you could speak maybe a little more to the international reach of the library.
Do you want to take that, Damaris, or do you want me to?
Sure, I can start, and then maybe if you have anything to add. Yeah, so like Robin mentioned, I think during the pandemic, we had a great opportunity to reach audiences beyond Brooklyn. So we had, I think for some of the story times in certain languages, we had thousands of people tune in to our Zoom story times. We also recently, Robin and I took a trip to Rotterdam for to meet with other libraries from all over the world. It was a great opportunity to kind of collaborate, see what other people are doing, and bring those ideas back to Brooklyn. Robin, do you have anything else to add to that?
I would just say that, well, we wouldn't do, especially we couldn't with city money. Our charter is to serve the people of Brooklyn first and foremost. But I think we have gotten a lot of attention and engagement internationally around earned media with press pickups from Book of HOV and Books Unbanned that have really, I hope, inspired people globally about what a library can be and expanding sort of the impression of what libraries are. And I think we've connected with a lot of other library systems nationally and internationally around that. And I think just helps us all share ideas and best practices and connect.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful and inspiring conversation. Thanks so much for everything that you've all shared today. And that will conclude our Q&A for this afternoon. So now, in Rail tradition, I'll just give a moment to open up the microphones and we can say hello and goodbye as we leave. Thank you all so much for being here today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. That was
great.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Have
for
a good
sharing
night, everybody.
everything.
Thank you,
Thank
Damaris.
Be
Thank you,
well.
Robin. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks, everyone.
Blessings upon all librarians, especially you.
Thank you, Donna.
That's a
Thanks,
fact.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye.